You can't sigh. That's my gig.
I'm coming for you. You stole my act, you stole my gaze, and you stole the face of the Burger King, as Joan Rivers famously told Kathy Griffin at the roast of Joan Rivers.
Well, I would never steal anyone's gaze, trust me. Unless we're saying G-A-Z-E, then
the male gaze.
I would love to steal a man's gaze.
By the way, before we dive into the subjects or the topics that you have not gone through with me, so I have no idea what the fuck we're talking about or what you're going to ambush me with, but it's more fun that way. There's a controversy this past week, about gyms being male only or female only spaces because these TikTok girls or something.
Girls
were going into gyms and like filming themselves in very, ostensibly revealing outfits. I'm like, why is this guy looking at me? And it's just some guy trying to make sure she doesn't like blow her back out on the bent over row. So I wanted to get your take on that. Like, if our Planet Fitness was single sex or co-ed or trans only, or I don't even know what the distinctions are at this point, but
I was going to start with stuff from our personal life, but you're going in hard. Okay.
I'm going in hard on the segregated gyms.
I mean, being a gay man, I would have no problem with segregated gyms. I personally do not enjoy seeing the
Blacks.
women that we see at Planet Fitness whose workout pants are halfway up their ass. Like,
oh, the girl in the bodycon leggings that was like,
right. Like, I want to go up to her, tap her on the shoulder, and say, "Excuse me, ma'am, is your crotch hungry because it's eating your pants? Like, do you need servicing?"
It was so bad because it was flesh colored. So for like at any distance, looking at that, I was like, "Is she naked? Well, is she just going like?"
It was flesh colored for a white girl. She was
Persian.
Yeah, some kind of dark skin.
Some flavor of Arab.
She's a beautiful woman, but
well, let's not push it.
Well, no, like she has nice features, but
from the
what she's wearing,
yeah, it showed a lot. I just want to get your take on that because that's been the whole controversy this week that the young people are talking about.
Where are you seeing these controversies?
On Twitter? That thing you got kicked off of?
Well, allegedly.
Well, you might be getting your account restored.
I put in an appeal. We'll see what happens.
You said, when I said I wanted to kill my roommates, I didn't mean it. It was a joke.
It's becoming less and less of a joke as the days go by.
Except we did something important. We got...
Wait a minute. I want to lead into that.
Oh, my God.
Because, well, no, last week when we recorded, you were literally a few hours away from the big surprise that happened that Friday night.
That's true.
And you had no clue. And, well, you say you had no clue. I don't know.
I had zero clue.
If you had zero clue, you're pretty damn stupid.
Because we recorded... You're so stupid. We recorded on Friday the 27th. There was another customer in the place. And she was shouting, 4, 4, 4. Now, we recorded on the 27th. And then as soon as we finished, I did something I don't normally do. And I was like, well, he listened to it, edited it. There wasn't really much to edit. And I was like, okay, I'm going to do the processing right now. Like, I'm going to get the image on there. I'm going to get it ready to go. And blah, 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 blah. And he's like, I don't think you want to do that. And I was like, what are you talking about? I'm trying to be productive and get this done because it's Friday night. You know, we're going to go out and probably have dinner, and I would like to have this done so we're not just sitting here all night and you know, trying to edit something or, you know, just letting the day go by and letting nothing get done. And you're like, well, all right, but you looked like defeated. And so then Kyle was like, let's go for a walk. And I was like, okay, because I'm like a dog, so I'm excited. And then we went for a walk and came back, and you guys threw this wonderful surprise party with friends and family in our home, which I had not cleaned very much. I'd only cleaned the kitchen because I didn't know people were coming over.
Again, which is why as soon as you guys left for your walk, I was like a madman, changing clothes, lighting candles, putting on some mood music, doing the last minute little like, let me wipe down this counter, let me do this, let me do that, let me fluff the pillows, and make it look like, you know, gays actually live here and not just stay here. Yeah, so we had a nice little surprise and a nice evening. But I wanted to preface, you know, the fact that we had just recorded maybe 2 hours before all of these people showed up. So
right.
I was already getting a little nervous, like, oh God, what's going to happen here? And I couldn't let it show.
And you didn't. You didn't, and it was a wonderful surprise. But another portion of the surprise that Kyle had was going to get a dog. And so he originally was just going to bring one home, but he was like, no, it's probably not the best idea, and I'd rather that I get to pick or help pick whatever dog that we go with. So we looked at a few dogs, and we brought home little, not that little, Rover, a husky whose full name is Range Rover, and 4 years old, has a cataract in one eye.
For what it's worth, I had no say in the name, so...
No, or the dog. I went out yesterday and just picked it up and told nobody. And he is already sitting outside of the door right now waiting for us to finish. We've not even had him 24 hours.
I'm sitting in the office teaching a class online, and I get done with the class, I take off my headphones, and I open the door, and I see him talking to someone outside. I'm like, oh, who's here? And then I hear, no, don't lick your nuts, and I went, oh, okay. And then I peered around the corner, and there was a dog, and I'm like, are you dog sitting? Or
you said, no, you literally looked at me and you were like, is this a joke? Like, I just, like you could buy, like, a joke animal or something just to show up with you for an hour. Like, you can rent an animal, like a hooker, and just, like, show up with one, like, surprise, you know.
And you've probably told a hooker, don't lick your nuts.
Exactly. So here we are. It all comes full circle. So, we have a dog now. He's great. We went to the gym earlier. He burrowed into the couch and just laid there. He's
not literally burrowed. The couch is still in one piece.
Well, yeah, he didn't like tear into it or anything. He just stuck his nose under the pillows and made himself a little bed. So he's just a happy little guy.
Little does he know what household he walked into.
Oh God, I know.
Just wait until we all get drunk one night and, what is this? Did we get a dog?
Oh, we're gonna feel like we forget. What did So let's lead into the topics. What did you have on the agenda, the gay agenda?
I had nothing because the two pieces that I have written recently have not yet been shared with the public, so I can't...
Well, maybe they will be.
Well, maybe they will be. Yeah, so I wrote something about the erasure of gays. Mm-hmm. And how everything is trans now, and activists do not actually care for us anymore, and actually would rather us all be trans and not actually identify as the same gender we were born.
Could I talk about how like the trans thing is so lazy now? Like, in order to be identifying as trans, you just have to say it. It's like an article of faith. Like, it's like, you know...
Well, Blair White's talked about that. She said, you expect me to believe that I have something in common with these people who identify as non-binary, who literally just put on a blouse, when I have gone through years and years of hormone therapy and extensive plastic surgery and paid a lot of money out of my ass to look the way I do.
Right.
Like, you expect me to say, yes, I have something in common with this piece of trash? No, I do not. And I have to respect her for that. She's absolutely right.
Well, yeah, it doesn't... I feel like in the quest to create all-inclusive categories, they've muddled the meanings of them so much to the point where words literally have no meaning. And one term, Don't
get me started on that topic.
Well, I know, because you're a linguist, and a cunning one at that. But the one word that I think is the one that gets the most bastardized now, not non-binary, not anything like that. Those are bad enough as it is. Queer. Now, queer can mean a sexually straight, non-transgender, plain girl who wears, like, you know, like a funny strand of glitter in her hair. She's queer. Like, that, it's such... I miss when queer was a slur.
Well,
or even when it was like, is he a little queer? Like, is he a little sweet? Is he a little funny?
But that's the thing is it goes along with this gay erasure idea because they're using the word queer in media instead of gay now.
Right.
So, Outspoken Middle East and Outspoken republished it, a piece about the authorities in Egypt are cracking down on gay men and hunting them down via these, apps like Grindr and stuff like that, and putting them in jail because of it. And Egypt, the Egyptian government, and by extension the Egyptian authorities and police are getting money from the U.S. and the UK, and so
For what?
well, because we're allies and we give them money anyway. I don't know, but the BBC put out an article saying like the money that you're giving, that the UK and the US is giving to Egypt, is directly going to hunt down homosexuals in their country, and you're not going to say or do anything about it. And
Right.
so we also covered the story, and Outspoken, but the Advocate covered the story as well.
Oh, really?
Which was very shocking.
Because for the
They
past
did
couple
not.
of years, you have said, where is the Advocate? Where is Human Rights Campaign? Where's
Right.
Queerty? Where are all these like supposedly gay organizations when it comes to this?
They conveniently left out the fact that money was being funneled in from the UK and the US. They covered something what the BBC wrote in like 1,500 words. We condensed into 600, 700 words. They condensed down to like 200 words,
Like a tweet.
and they left out quite a bit of the meat of the information.
They're like, hey, it's hard to be gay in Egypt. Anyway, bye.
Right, but then
Anyway,
again,
George Santos.
They didn't say gay. The article headline said Egyptian authorities hunting down queers in Egypt or something.
Queers?
Yeah. No, I'm serious. It said queers or queer men or something like that.
What does that
It did not
mean?
say gay men.
These men are gay. They are not like, they're
Do you
not.
know these gays?
Do you know these gays? Do you know these Egyptian gays?
Literally, the Egyptian authorities. Do you know these gays?
I want
We are trying to murder them.
I want one of the gays to come out like Tanya. But I just don't understand how. Well, I do. Because I just went in my head and I had to like reverse against myself. I was like, I don't understand how they could be so ignorant of this. And then I'm like, wait a second. No, I do. Because it doesn't advance any goals to point out that Egypt or the Muslim world or anything like that is homophobic anymore. Maybe during a brief window around the early 2000s, it was like, and they're also homophobic. And then after that, no one cared. Now it's just like, oh, you cannot impinge on their culture. Their culture says, if we see one George Michael CD, off the bridge with you. So it's become a competing interest game, like all these other things, like Black History Month, Women's History Month, all these issues. What do we do? Are we afraid of being called anti-Muslim? Or are we afraid of being called anti-gay? Or what are we? Which group do we favor more? And usually it's gays, but in this situation, it's by ethnicity. I hesitate to say race because it's not a race.
I've said for a long time, oppression is a hierarchy,
Yes.
and the left
changing
treats it
one.
as so. Well, yeah.
An always changing one, because who knows? Like, for example, this case of this guy in Memphis fleeing from the cops, getting ended up killed by a black guy, 5 black cops, everything like this, and yet they're still trying to use the line of, well, it's white supremacy power structures. It's like, well, yeah, that's a good one. But then it's like, all of a sudden now the hierarchy is upset because like, well, what is it? Is it a race issue? Is it a is it a policing issue? Is it a race in policing issue? Is it the fact that they lowered the hiring standards during the past couple years?
No, which again, by the way, this again, I'm getting this semi-secondhand information, but it's the same thing happens every time that this happens. Other information starts to come out and you go, oh, there was more to the story. Well, no shit, there's always more to the story. Right. Apparently, someone is claiming that at least one of those cops, found out that the man that they killed, was sleeping with his wife or had some dalliance with his wife or something. That was what I heard. Again, this could be a rumor. It has not been proven, but that is what is being alleged.
Well, I
currently.
guarantee he slept with that one female police officer who fucked the whole department.
But again, the point is, how are you going to say it's anything to do with race or power when it's revenge?
Well, isn't it kind of the thing where
it's not right that they did it. It's not right that he was killed, but he pissed off someone and someone got retaliation. It has nothing to do with race. It has nothing to do with police brutality or power. It's someone had a vendetta and did did the wrong thing to someone. If that's true.
In the same way with this, they had said that Derek Chauvin and George Floyd allegedly knew each other because they were co-workers doing night security at a club. That whole fact got completely glossed over. That this cop that allegedly murdered him was had prior knowledge of this person. It wasn't just some random person on the street. They had previously, and God knows what had been said or done or anything like that. And then the same thing with these two, quote, Asian mass shootings in California. One was this dance hall instructor at the Lunar New Year parade who was mentally ill and just snapped and had some domestic dispute that got out of hand. Another one where a guy who felt like he got up in Half Moon Bay, felt like he got an older Asian man again, who committed the crime, who got shortchanged apparently at work and then just started blasting people. So it's kind of like, I think that the left and these people who push this narrative want there to be, they almost want it to be you at any time could be shot by the police. You at any time could be a victim of this system. You at any time. When it's very rare in these situations. In fact, I don't think that there is statistically one where a police officer who was not known to the suspect, a suspect who was not known to the police officer who was unarmed, was brutally executed for a racial reason by this police officer who, again, did not know. Like, there's zero. I did that one statistical analysis, and it turned out there was 0 of those cases. Right. Only 4 unarmed cases in the course of a year, and all 3 of them had a reason, and then the other one was literally an accident. Right. Like, so it's like there's and by the way, was compensated as such. I think the family got $12 million out of it, and they made a big deal, and it was handled appropriately. The person lost their job and lost their they could never be a cop again. So it's like.
But I'd like to go back to a point you just made, and you're right. I don't say that often. Mm-hmm.
Savoring.
This narrative that they push breeds contempt and breeds hatred,
right.
Which leads to what happened that you told me about yesterday or the day before with this motorist.
Yeah, in Dana Point.
So explain that.
So a ER doctor in his mid-50s who was a cyclist who... He's already on my shit list because of that, but he didn't do anything here. He was on the PCH going to work. He worked at the Laguna Beach ER, I think the one by Thousand Steps Beach, and he lived in Dana Point. So it's a nice little couple-mile bike ride. It's very close. Otherwise, calm road because you can't really go that fast through there. And some African-American gentleman, I don't know if he was African-American, he might have just been African, dark gentleman, who is a former accountant, went up to this ER doctor, apparently hit him with the vehicle, then got out, pointed a BB gun at him, and then stabbed him to death. Right outside, very close to this guy's own ER. Yelling about white supremacy and some insane rant. Had to be restrained by the onlookers. So, I think in a I think in this sort of like hyper-racial, hyper-gendered, hyper-sexualized, every kind of distinction you can make between people world, where you tell people of all backgrounds, this other person is out to get you, this other person is coming after you, and sometimes people on the edge really legitimately snap. Like, you can push anyone over the edge very easily at this point.
But, and I've written about this before too, if you breed that thought, if you breed that narrative in someone's brain as a young child and as they grow up, think of these young black men who are growing up being told constantly, the police hate you, the police will target you, all of this stuff. And basically, I understand the parents are trying to do what's right, what they feel is right, but they are breeding hatred for authority. Right. And so when they beat this into their heads and show them, well, look, here's another story, and don't show them, don't share all the facts, and the media never does. They grow up to become these men who, again, think that everyone's out to get them. And so when they do encounter a police officer and they are angry about something, they push back, they get violent, they do all of these things because they already hate these people to begin with, which then exacerbates the problem and makes the police go back with force that they probably shouldn't have to use or shouldn't be using. And it creates the narrative again.
So it's constant unequal it's constant.
It's a feedback loop.
Right, and it's people going in on unequal footing that's going to result in an unequal outcome every single time. It's going to be people on edge, people, and then oop, unequal outcome. Oop, unequal outcome. Oop, or not even that. There used to be and still is in some areas, but not to the degree that there used to be. There used to be a high enough trust in society to where if you walk into a bar, if you go into a crowded place, if you, are in any kind of encounter that could turn dangerous, it was in everyone's interest to de-escalate. So whether that's quickly punch someone and then it's over, or take it outside and talk it out and end it, no one wants to go to jail, no one wants to come home bleeding, no one wants to die, for the most part. So everyone's interest was in de-escalation. But when you're teaching people to go out and perform what is the equivalent to escalation tactics, and then people performing escalation tactics in response, it's just going to be a constant escalation and more tragedies and more situations that do not warrant it. Because every single day in this country, there is the opportunity for conflict everywhere. And if you go through life knowing that or acting that way, it will drive you crazy. But you can't just be reactive to it.
And I want to stress that I do not blame, black parents, and specifically maybe even black mothers, for telling their children that at the beginning because they just are trying to be protective. I totally understand that. Right. But now that we see what that through line is, now that we see what that brings about, and we have direct evidence of, some of these more recent police incidents. The police officers, quite a few of them have been provoked by the, perpetrator, right, which then escalated the situation. So we have the evidence now. We have the data. Parents need to stop with that. They need to stop. They need to be like, have respect for this authority. They may target you because of your color. But don't breed that hatred. Don't say, well, they automatically hate you because you're black.
Don't beat up a convenience store worker before. And I think that the other thing, too, that, it might be considered a libertarian point of view, but I think it also bears saying, a lot of people in the past few years have seen some very bad behavior by police when it comes to enforcement of things like mask mandates and stuff like that. Mostly in other countries, but also here, where it's like dragging people off the beach in Malibu because of some ridiculous order, like some guy out on a paddleboard alone being pulled away in cuffs, and people at protests, not the BLM protests, other kinds of protests, but the shit kicked out of him. And it sort of creates more of the problems with entrusting authority to certain people. It used to be that your cop was your neighbor, much like your doctor, much like your, other types of people like this. But now your doctor is a faceless computer and you're just a number. Now your officer grew up 500 miles away from this neighborhood, knows nothing about the character of the people who grew up there, knows nothing about it. So when you divorce a lot of people from the reality, the authority equation also flips. And so I think that's something too. New York used to be a pretty good example of how to have neighborhood and community policing, because if you have a cop walking the beat on 91st, the cop grew up on 92nd. Like, he knows that block. He knows who's there. He knows the families. He knows when something doesn't look necessarily correct, and deals with the situation appropriately. But now, if you have someone who's never stepped foot in New York becoming an NYPD cop, that doesn't make any fucking sense. Like, I don't think I would have the qualifications to ever do that. I don't know anything. I don't know enough about New York to be able to enforce laws there. Same way that I don't think an NYPD cop would do very well in California. It's a completely different way of functioning and ways that people get around. So, anyway, off that soapbox. What else you got? Or what horrible transition are you going to make into the next topic? Speaking of botched transitions.
I'm marveling at the fact that we made natural transitions into like 4 different stories there. That was professionally done. I will
Good for us. And this whole episode like a minute ago, and then we're perfect.
Well, no. So this isn't a transition because there's no way to transition into this topic. But you mentioned last week.
You're just non-binary.
You mentioned last week that you wanted to talk again about WeHo.
Yes, the bars of WeHo. Speaking of cops and lack of enforcement, And speaking of a very difficult situation, let's talk about West Hollywood.
If you could all see the look I'm giving him right now, like, where are you going?
He
with
took a
this?
look at me like I just shit on the floor. But I'm talking about, or I think it's important to talk about, I'm not in a comfortable position on this bed either. I keep shifting around because the bed is up against the wall and it feels like it's eating me. No, because all the bars are basically circulated around the West Hollywood Sheriff Station, which I think is really funny. It's like a horseshoe. But also, WeHo has one of the highest rates of property crime. Even though the WeHo police are usually pretty, like, they're on it, like if there's an issue. But it has one of the highest rates of property crime, not just in the area, in all of Los Angeles County. More people have car break-ins, apartment break-ins, and lose their phones and wallets and everything like that in that strip of West Hollywood compared to anywhere. It's our Times Square for that purpose.
Which I'll count myself lucky. I mean, I've encountered other people who've had things stolen, like during dances, like dancing and stuff. I never lost anything.
I mean, the Abbey used to be like a...
I mean, no one likes to come up to me anyway, but I've never lost anything.
Because you have a look on your face like you're gonna kill someone.
Well, I would shank someone, absolutely.
Exactly. But the Abbey has, it's like an Egyptian bazaar to really just tie everything in. The queers can't identify themselves. No, I mean, it's something where you go there and you keep things tight on you because there are gangs of people who go in there and steal phones. Although they finally, this past 2 weeks ago, cracked down because they found that this gang of young women were going in. Women. Fish. A woman. In the Abbey, which is an abomination to begin with, but this gang of young women was in the Abbey, and they were just snatching phones out of people's pockets, and they wouldn't even notice, and they got caught like dogs. So there's that. But to get back to sort of that stretch, I'm going to start at the opposite. I feel like, where should we start? I think we should start at St. Felix. So I kind of wanted to do a neighborhood guide. To those of you who've never been to West Hollywood, this might not be helpful to you, but you'll probably end up there someday.
And we've talked about this before, so go listen to some other episodes as well. But
right, but I think it behooves us to go through and just kind of like give a rundown of like what these places are, what they used to be, what's going on there in an early 2023 context. Because one thing that obviously affected the bar as much as it did many other places in the country is during the lockdowns and shutdowns and ridiculousness. LA was the epicenter for that, where you had to have the vaccine card, you had to have the mask, and all this nonsense to go to a bar. So
and
it
both
crippled
of
a lot
us,
of these places.
Both of us have experienced these places pre-pandemic and now post-pandemic. So
yes.
Seeing the ridiculousness that has ensued, and I hate to use it. I don't use this word lightly, but I can't think of a better word. And the tragedies that have happened in some of their like closings and shuffling of good service, good drinks, that kind of stuff.
Well, okay, so if you talk about the older gays in LA, they used to tell you that there were a couple bars in West Hollywood, but before that was the case, there were places like Oil Can Harry's in Studio City, what is Akbar in Silver Lake, which was basically saved during the pandemic with a fundraiser.
What's that place with the hot dog party? Do you remember?
Oh,
I forgot the name. Yes.
It's like El Centro or something, or
El Cid.
El Cid.
Yes.
The El Cid.
Was that always a gay bar, or has it become one?
I believe so.
Okay.
There's a couple of those places like that I've never been to.
Because that's not in West Hollywood,
right?
But that's.
I don't think I've ever been into the gay bars that are outside of that are on the east side. I've been to the one in the Valley that was horrifying. Anyway, don't ever go there. There's a scary bar off of Burbank Boulevard. Do not go there. It's like bears. It's really creepy. Weird story there, but. As far as like getting back to West Hollywood, so going through like I would say probably mid to late, a couple around in the 70s and 80s, like Trunks was always there and Motherlode was always there, and then I know, and so some of the patrons too. Some of the patrons were there,
and they've never left.
No, they have. They've been going there for 50 fucking years, and playing that pool table. But let's for purposes of argument, let's start at like mid to late 90s into the present era. So the Abbey opens up. It's a huge outdoor indoor dance club. It's very popular, and it was very gay. So younger gays would go there, and you could go and dance, and it was like everyone's goal over the course of the night is to get to the Abbey. You have a few drinks elsewhere, then you get to the Abbey. You hopefully don't get a drink there. If you're a woman, you probably will get roofied there, or some men. But at least start at one of the other bars. So one of our favorites, and it has become kind of like a second home for us there, is Bayou. It is the divest of the dive bars. We love the owner. He's this little old British man who's very funny. He's like a little Bond villain. And the drinks are strong, and they serve them in those to-go soup bowls.
Yeah, and they're reasonable.
They're reasonable, yes, for what you get. Is it top shelf? Probably not. There's some Smirnoff in the Grey Goose bottle, but that's okay. We don't blame them.
But you have to give it to them. The turnover in like bartenders and security there is not
very low.
Yeah, the people who work there like working there. It seems
those same two guys have been behind the bar there at least 3 or 4 years, maybe 5, and
the bouncer
with his face tattoos, nice guy, has dealt like he looks like an ex-con. He probably is.
I could probably go there tonight, and he would recognize me.
He would, and he's handled situations for us before, so he's good. Okay, so next door are the two new places, Stash and High Tops. High Tops is the jock kind of like, oh, what if it's a gay bar but there's sports on the wall, which I think is retarded. No one watches the sports on the wall, by the way, and it's just kind of like more like a Sunday fun day brunch place. I know that they also have food, which I haven't had the food there. Have you?
Yeah.
Is it good?
I've only had the French fries.
Were they good?
Yes.
Okay, so it was good French fries.
And I've seen other people order food that looked good. I just didn't.
Yeah. And then next to it is the newest bar there, Stash, which is, I don't know what the purpose of that is. Is it kind of like a hipster themed bar? Like, it was a very confusing design. Is it supposed to look like a Chicago like style gay bar?
No, I think Stash is more of a they want to have that dark and mysterious vibe.
Oh.
And so it's always dark in there. Mm-hmm. But I think they're vying for the like a New York Brooklyn vibe. I think that's what they want.
Okay.
I've been there a few times. I know you. It just opened not that long. I mean, less than a year ago.
Yeah, it hasn't been a full year.
So you didn't go there many times, but I've been there a few times, and like on a random Tuesday, we went out and it was packed.
Yeah. They
had a show. It was actually a really good show. Like they had a fire eater. It was cool. Like it was fun. And then I've gone and walked past it, and it was absolutely dead. No one wants to walk in there. It's either dead or slammed.
And there's nothing worse than walking into a bar that's dead and it's visible from the street that it's dead, and you're just standing in there. Like you're the only person standing. Like that looks bad. That looks like you farted and everyone left.
And you can't. That place you can't hide it. You can't hide if it's dead or not.
Yeah.
Because it's very open. Bayou, you can hide if it's dead because you have to walk through like this little alleyway.
You can kind of go in the back and just sort of hide up by the bar, and no one knows. So you have those. And then I will add as a corollary St. Felix, which is more of a food place, but they have drinks. It's very gay, and the drinks are very good. I like St. Felix. It's not really a bar. It's not really a gay like bar where you stand up. Like it's kind of seating only.
Right. Okay. We had sliders one night there.
We did. So then down the street is the former, gym bar. Don't fake falling asleep like Vicky Gunvalson.
I'm not. I'm stretching.
You're slumped over.
The seat is not comfortable.
I know. So Gym Bar is on the corner where Halal Guys used to be.
And I thought that was the quote unquote sports.
Well, that was there years ago, but it was down Santa Monica Boulevard, way away from the Strip, so it was kind of pointless being all the way out there. And it was kind of fun. Like they had like pinball machines and kind of shit in there, and it was like big buck hunter. It was. I thought it was fun the one time I went to the old one. The new one is kind of like. It's like a very small hallway of a bar. Like, it's very small. So, it's usually full with, like, the Mask for Mask gays, and it's like, they're boring. So, next to it is, next to Showtime or Playhouse, whatever the fuck that place is, the where you go buy your jock straps, there is what used to be Rage. Now, Rage was the only place on the Strip that allowed 18 and over. You got a wristband if you're 21 or over. And it used to be fun. You can go there and dance. Like, we pre-gamed definitely when we were underage. And we'd go into Rage and go have fun and, like, dance. There's a huge dance floor inside. And as Kathy Griffin's parents would have told you, they used to go in there for $4 wine. And Kathy was like, what do you mean you go in there for happy hour? They're like, yeah. She's like, what if my dad gets like raped or something at the bar? But I have to say, Rage was a lot of fun. Now it's a place called Heart with a big rainbow LED sign. It looks stupid. And your friend, Lance Bass, opened up Heart. And it's the largest gay dance floor in the United States or some shit like that.
It's actually really cool inside. We saw part of the last year's Super Bowl there. We saw the end of it actually. It's a nice place. They did a great job. What pisses me off and what pisses you off is that most nights they charge like $20 cover because they're having a show.
No.
They always have shows in there because they have a huge stage. It's a huge stage, it's a huge dance floor.
What's my rule?
You never pay cover.
Exactly.
But $20 cover. And then the drinks at Heart, if you don't have to pay cover and you go on the one night they're not having a show, their well is Grey Goose. Their well is Jack Daniels. Like,
so their well is top shelf.
Not bad shit.
So
and
if
they
you just
charge
get
you $15 for a drink.
Okay.
Using really pretty good alcohol, and they're a pretty heavy pour.
Which is cheaper than if you were to order Grey Goose or Jack Daniels at another bar.
So I have to give them credit. It's a nice place. They have nice drinks.
All right. Well, next time we go, if there's not a cover, and it's not Urban Night or whatever, like it was past last time, let's go, and more on that later, then we'll go in there and we'll get one of those top shelfy drinks. Fine. So then you cross the street.
And they also play good music, but anyway.
Oh, anyway. You cross the street, which is kitty corner from the sheriff's station. And on that side, you have... Don't shake your head at me.
It's catty corner.
Kitty corner.
Catty corner.
It's about a cat. It's a cat at a corner.
Right. Catty corner.
Catty. It's a kitty corner. So, I'm moving again. So next
I'm not editing any of that out.
You just hear my groans as I move around, shift. We had a big brunch. Next is what? Fiesta Z Pizza, the gay Z Pizza, which is really depressing, and Fiesta Cantina.
Why even bring those up? They're nothing.
They're nothing. They're nothing
there.
until it's 1 a.m. and there's nothing else open for food. But next is Fiesta Cantina. Now, Fiesta used to be the place you would go if you wanted cheap margaritas on their happy hour. If you go early, like 4 to 7, they had a rooftop, which is kind of fun.
We went to karaoke there once.
That was really disturbing.
Stupid.
But it's kind of a fun place like that. It's gotten a lot worse, as if it could. Then next to it is Mickey's, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so Mickey's is a 3-level... Another dance bar, another place that's open, a place that has dancers. But I have to say, in the past year or so, because they were closed the longest when everything was shut down and finally barely reopened. One, they were taking pictures of people to verify their vaccine information, like when you went in.
Yes. No.
Which a lot of people were uncomfortable with. What if their wives found out?
You didn't have to wear masks or anything, so that was technically still a rule, I guess, but they weren't enforcing that. But they were enforcing the Vax card, and yeah, they took a picture of you. So they took your Vax card and your ID, looked at it under a black light to make sure it wasn't fake or something.
Right.
And then they said, okay, now stand here, stoop down, we have to take your picture. And then before you could even say, wait, take my what? They flash you in the fucking eyes, and then they're like, okay, get inside. And you're like, I didn't consent to having my picture taken. It seems wildly inappropriate and or illegal, but
yeah,
maybe not. Because it feels like, especially in California, you have to consent to everything. So why are they allowed to just take your picture randomly?
Well, they're not taking pictures of random people on the street, but I think that consent to entry is taking photos. So they
must have a sign posted.
There's probably a
somewhere.
very tiny sign that no one can see without glasses. So here's my thing with Mickey's. It used to be kind of a cool, fun place, and it was the second Abbey, basically. So if the Abbey was too full, or you want to go there first, it's a fun place to dance and hang out with people.
It's a big drag place.
They do that. It's also a big dance place. They used to also have late night, so 2 to 4 a.m. they would have a late night. No alcohol, of course, but you would still dance. But the security there kind of turned into dicks over time. And it also doesn't seem very clean. they don't. It's kind of gotten grimier in the past couple years, and they have like the little step and repeat mirror thing that you can go take a picture.
Yeah, that's fun. But the go-go dancers are horrible.
The go-go dancers are straight and don't want to be there.
Disgusting.
Like, it seems like it just, ever since it reopened, it's gone significantly downhill. And it was not doing great before. So Mickey's is kind of off the list. Like, we stop in there because one of our friends knows a bartender, and so he likes to go and see him in there. But the drinks were not, I mean, they're okay. They're not great.
No, the drinks are not good.
Yeah. So the next...
And they're way too expensive.
Yeah, it's like $20, you know, for one drink sometimes. And then there's Circus of Books, where the guy tried to steal the 30-inch dildo and failed, which is a great story. And it was caught on security cameras. And then there's Revolver.
Yay.
So,
my
yeah.
favorite.
Oh, no, I was thinking of Block Parties there, but Circus of Books is up the street. And then Revolver's your favorite because what was the deal that they used to do on Sunday nights?
Saturday nights, $3 tequila.
Right.
Sunday nights, $3 vodka. And yes, it was like the trashy, disgusting,
Not always.
horrible vodka.
Not always.
But
It was Deep Eddy, and then it was Burnett's.
if you put the right mixer in, you can't feel the burn.
It was...
And so when you made me get the $3 vodka with soda, that was like...
No, not the first couple times. The first couple times it was Deep Eddy or one of those like good ones that they have on the airplane. Then at some point I saw him pull out a bottle of Burnett's and I'm like, oh God, what is he doing? Because Burnett's is bad. Burnett's is like for real alcoholics. Like that's the stuff you go get the small one at the gas station and go drink in a park. Like it was bad. And then the last time I went there, I'm like, it's just burning on the way down. It's like that White Claw vodka that we drank.
Well, because, yes, it's $3. They are still heavy pours. I mean, it is a gay bar after all. And it's so potent and flammable that, you know, it's cheap that you put soda water in it and it's just like drinking battery acid.
It's just lighter fluid at that point.
So I always would get something like ginger ale or something mixed with something to deaden that taste. Oh.
So across the street is Flaming Saddles. So Revolver is good. It's a good place to start. It's very small though, and a lot of people are packed in there. It's also the one place where people go to the bathroom because it has disproportionately more bathrooms than space compared.
But just be careful because you have to go down the stairs.
Oh God!
You might fall down the stairs.
I've fallen down those stairs before, as have most people. I caught someone once.
And so many OnlyFans gays go to Revolver.
Of course.
I've seen so many of them.
Well, because there's enough bathroom stalls. Why the fuck else do you think they go in there? So then across the street is Flaming Saddles. Was Flaming Saddles. Well, it's still the husk of Flaming Saddles. Which
No, they opened something else.
Is it open yet?
They are opening something
They
else.
are.
You've been back more recently than I have, so you would know more.
So they are supposed to open a 3-story
Weed
something bar, lounge, patio, rooftop. Which if I was like up the block, I'd be upset about. But anyway, so that's Flaming Saddles used to be fun. You used to be able to dance. They apparently had lesbian nights. Like it was a fun, like Western themed. Anyway, all gone. And then next to that is Trunks, which is probably the worst bar.
I've literally gone in there twice, and both times I've seen a fight break out.
That sounds.
I'm not
Now
exaggerating.
Trunks used to be the old HIV positive gays, like lecherously hanging around the pool table.
Can you say that?
Lecherously. They wouldn't do it. Well, who's going to sue? What are they going to show me their test results or something like that? I guarantee you that place has more of the HIV floating around it than a San Francisco bathhouse. And it's in historical strains.
God.
Like they have like the Omicron. Trunks used to be rough. And then it got but then what I don't understand is it got very popular among the urban crowd. I don't know if it's because like the drinks are cheap, but they're also really bad. Like it's one of the only 2 places I've had a drink and I've not finished it. And the other place I'll mention towards the end of this. So, cross the street.
I can't wait till we get to that one.
Cross the street. We start at the West Hollywood Police Station, which is the hottest party. Also, there used to be Gold Coast down the street, which was like about a mile away. Gold Coast has been very recently replaced with a upscale gay cocktail bar. So I'm really interested in trying that. Because Christian sent me an ad for it, like it was on, like it says finally open. It's called OR Bar, O-R.
Oh, God.
So they opened up like a not mixology themed and not like speakeasy. It's just like a like Delilah or any of these other places, like an upscale, like very velvet lounge cocktail bar. Which is funny because Gold Coast used to be the biggest trash, like just end of the line.
Bigger than you?
Yes, but the funny thing is I knew this group of Saudi guys who were definitely not gay, who were looking for a bar that's open. And they all walked into Gold Coast, and it was like Fisting Mondays or something, and there was porn on the TV. And the guy was like, bro, I ran out of there so fucking fast. I swear to God, I'd never been to a faggot bar like that before. It was great. So, back on the other side of the street, you have the sheriff's station, which takes up most of that block, which is great, but they should at least lease out the front for, bars. And then you have on the corner, Rocco's, which was the first... what's his name? Lance Ass creation there. Now, the idea was not bad of opening up a gay bar that had good drinks and good food on the corner of Boys Town. Like that was a good idea at the time.
And it still looks nice.
Yes.
Like they've kept it up.
It's very clean. Like
right.
Very nice.
But
nice bathrooms.
The food is now horrible. The drinks are horrible. It's all way too expensive.
It's really slipped.
They have the 2 times I've seen drag shows in there, they've been the worst drag shows I've ever watched. And I lived in Albuquerque. Worst drag shows I've ever watched. So I refuse to go into Rocco's ever again.
It was, after we sat in the parking lot on a piece of AstroTurf for Rocco's, quote, beach party during COVID to celebrate a birthday.
It was also Rocco's where I was asked someone said, "Oh, I think I know you." I had no idea who they were. Gave me his number and his Instagram and said, "Let's go out sometime." And he was kind of cute, so I said, "Okay, sure." Then on his Instagram, like the next day, he was like in a dress and like showing like he was non-binary, and I'm like, that's a no. And so I haven't talked to him since.
But Rocco's was one of the few places open during all this shit. So they opened back early, so it was very busy and had a line like past the bus stop for a very long period of time, including it was Rocco's and then a couple doors down, Beaches, which got very popular in 2020, 2021. Yeah, especially the summer of 2021. The place to be in West Hollywood was Beaches. It was busy. There was a patio. They had the big chairs and the big furniture. It's all Miami themed. The drinks were good. They had that watermelon thing that was good. The bartender that we knew, that was the place to be.
Number 1, Beaches has terrible music. Number 2, they have terrible decor. Number 3, the drink was good, but it was weak as fuck, and it was still $17. No thank you. And 4th, what was the 4th one? The clientele is trashy.
Really?
Yes.
Well, it feels like a lot of like out of towners go there because like, oh, let's go to Beaches. I saw it on Instagram. They have like naked guys or some shit.
But they don't.
They don't.
The go-go dancers are across the street.
Beaches has, and I have to say, it used to be the cleanest because it was new, and has the worst restrooms anywhere because there's only 2 single-serve stalls for the entire bar.
And they're huge.
They're big, so you could probably fit
you could
2
fit 3.
in there.
You could fit 3 stalls in those bathrooms.
And there's always a line, and there's always people in there doing blow, and it's like I one time waited 45 minutes in there. I almost peed myself waiting in line because there were a bunch of girls like in the bathroom with their twinks. So Beaches has gone way downhill. So next to Beaches is Tom Tom, which is one of many Lisa Vanderpump creations.
It's beautiful in there. The drinks are really strong.
It's
and
very
really
Art
good.
Deco
They're
style.
Expensive,
yeah,
but
the drinks are very strong. It's, I would say, candidate for the strongest top shelf drinks in West Hollywood.
It has this not art. It's Art Deco meets steampunk.
Yeah.
I've never had food there, but I enjoy it. It's a nice place.
And so then next to Tom Tom is Bottega Louis, which is a food place that you like very much. It's also open a little bit later because it's a bakery. So usually when people are out at the bars, it's also open, which is kind of a strange...
They run out of things.
Yeah, they do. It's kind of a strange...
They're a good bakery, so they run out of shit.
Well, yeah, but it's kind of a strange, thing where you have people walking by in tank tops and shorts, and then walking to this gorgeous marble, like Beverly Hills style restaurant in the middle of it.
People puking on their marble outside.
Give me more poppers. It's bad. Then on the corner you have,
Oh God! No, you almost forgot.
I almost forgot. Okay, so it was. There's a bar that before COVID they shut down to renovate, and it's called Motherlode.
I want to stress that Motherlode has been on my to-do list. Was on my to-do list for a long time because it was mentioned in the very first season of Vanderpump Rules, and I used to love that show. And so I watched that show, and I was like, I want to go see where these people allegedly fingered each other and made out. And it's called Motherlode. What is this place? And then the first time I actually visited LA, I went there and I saw the sign and I was like, what do you mean it's closed? What do you mean it's going to be closed for 30 years? I mean, obviously I'm exaggerating, but it was closed forever. And I thought it was closed permanently. And then all of a sudden one day we walk by and it's fucking open. And I'm going, what?
So the guy who owns the Abbey and helped build Bottega Louis also bought Motherlode. Like Trunks, it used to be talk about the HIV. It was beyond daddies. These are grandparents that were there. And when I tell you it is the worst drinks in West Hollywood, it really is. And we went back there this time with Jose, and it was still horrible. The drinks were horrible. It's literally battery acid vodka.
So...
And not cheap, by the way.
I want to say two things. One, about the drinks. I am more of an alcoholic than Wyatt is because I never leave drinks. Ever.
Right.
This is the first time and only time I've ever left a drink because I took 3 sips and I said, this is not vodka. This is some moonshine swill that was made in a toilet back there.
And it probably was, let's be honest.
And I cannot actually choke it down because it is that bad. And I had mixed it with cranberry juice, which has so much sugar you shouldn't be able to taste the vodka. It was horrendous. So I put it down. I was like, we're leaving. Second story. The first time I ever walked in the Motherlode, there was a human, I don't know what to call it, standing at the bar. And dressed as a woman, clearly a man, kind of strange looking, larger, hairy, hair everywhere, but dressed skimpily, in a skimpy outfit. Well, in a skimpy outfit is what I was trying to say. And then your eyes go down and you go, oh, there's not even a skirt or anything, a G-string. And that is it. And so I have a picture from my Instagram story from that night of this man facing the bar so I could see ass cheeks hanging out, hair everywhere, and a picture of me. I took a picture and I put on the caption, ma'am. But what's worse is he, I don't know, turned around, stuck his hand in his G-string at one point, was watching Jose, and was jerking off what I imagine was a micro penis inside the G-string. And that is when I said, can we leave, please? And he said, yeah, let's leave.
Well, I didn't know you had that experience. I'm sorry. I was going to make a joke and I couldn't even elucidate it. It's too disturbing.
Have I shown you that picture? I mean, I'm sure you saw it on my Instagram story.
I really don't want to see it again.
Ma'am.
I think I messaged you then. I was like, what the fuck is this? So they were the place that I went to with my friend Amanda. Motherlode was the place I went years and years ago. And they had, the real joke is it really happened. We walked in and it was Tuesday and they had a thing on the TV that said Manhole Tuesdays and it literally was fisting porn on the TV. I don't know what it is with these places putting up fisting. I don't know. I feel like if you're into fisting, you don't really need to see it on the street. I think you can fist quietly at home. I'm surprised they don't teach it in schools now.
You bigot.
Bigot. So, please, if you really want to horrify your straight friends, take them to Motherlode, but then pull them out quickly because they might get devoured. But it's just bad. It's a San Francisco, Northern California theme bar. It's like something nasty from the Castro. And next is Pump, which is Lisa Vanderpump's wonderful place. The Pump and Glory pictures you enjoy during brunch. And their brunch is pretty good. Oh, God. Why'd you show me that? So disturbing. So Pump, and then they're
Pump
used,
is lovely.
and then where in a big, pretty outdoor garden, and then finally to the Abbey, which used to be a lesbian bar and then the Abbey, but the lesbian bar did not have enough customers, so it's now the chapel at the Abbey next to the Abbey.
Which I'd like to make clear because you mentioned earlier, Hart is technically the largest dance floor
By square
foot because the Abbey and the chapel at the Abbey are considered two different places. But
Right.
if you add those two dance floors up, it would be bigger than Hart. So I just want to make that clear because Lance Bass ain't shit, and he likes to tout his quote unquote accomplishment when it's not really an accomplishment.
Right. And so the Abbey, I mean, what more can you say about the Abbey? Did they ever do that reality show about the bartenders at the Abbey, or were they roofing too many people and they couldn't do it? They get sued. Because it was like around the time of Vanderpump Rules, and it was going to be like the boys at the Abbey. Let me look it up.
I know what you're talking about because I heard the same thing.
Because they were really hyping it, like they had like TMZ talking about it and everything.
And I want to say that I saw a clip.
Or did it just like, was it like Real Friends of WeHo and they did it and then it just sort of...
Well, no, I saw a clip of some reality show
Oh.
where they were sitting in the Abbey and it was like teasing or promoting like a possible
What
show.
Happens at the Abbey is an American reality television series that premiered on E! In 2017. They did one season, 7 episodes, and that's it.
Maybe that's what I saw then. Yeah, I remember watching something back.
It has... it got a low demographic rating, so no... It has episode titles like Chicken Leg Bitch and Weasel Eyed Ferret. I don't think it did very well.
Okay.
So, I guess it just kind of flopped. It doesn't get good ratings or anything.
Well, neither do we, but we haven't been canceled yet.
Oh, not enough rating. I'm trying to see if there's any ratings. I'm like, no, there's not a... Oh, God, he was on there? Oh, God. Anyway. Upsetting. So, that's your traveler's guide to West Hollywood. The Chamber of Commerce should really pay us for this because we've given them kind of a good little rundown of Boys Town. But they don't have a speakeasy like you were talking about opening. Like, they don't have like a classy cocktail bar on the strip there. And they also don't have like a fun bar or like a mimosa bar. Like, there's so many other concepts that haven't been tried. And every place just tries to be like a weird Abbey copy and fails.
Yeah, well... Yeah, you're right. They could try some things, but...
See, my thinking was they should extend the strip past pavilions, like blow into some of those crappy shops in the pavilions parking lot. At least put some little fun bars or restaurants there, places open till 2. Like, that would be nice.
Well, I don't... You were correct in saying that for some reason High Tops is very popular on Sunday, and I guess it's because they sort of have a nice outdoor space that people can congregate in, but I don't understand why it's so popular on Sunday. Like post brunch, right? So you go to brunch at one of these nice restaurants, you get really liquored up, and you're like, let's continue the party, right? And so you go to one of the other bars, and they usually go to High Tops.
Right.
And I don't understand why. Because I don't care for High Tops, but...
I don't either. I don't like anything about it.
Know.
Okay,
so they need a place for post brunch people.
So I looked up and there's apparently a show 2022 to present on Crackle called The Men of West Hollywood, and it stars Justin Jedlicka, who's that guy who's the human Ken doll who has that really bad plastic surgery, and,
the one
and
that
Friends.
yeah, the one that was on. Well, he was on Botched, and he was on some of those other shows.
It's Botched, all right. So. Oh, God, that's embarrassing. So, they're trying. It's funny how... Now, this is really interesting. Other than Lisa Vanderpump stuff, there is no way that they have been able to successfully take the culture of West Hollywood and distill it into some kind of entertainment product that extends beyond Los Angeles. Like, people have heard of the Abbey, people know Vanderpump, like, some of these bars and things like that. People obviously come and visit West Hollywood and everything like that. But there's no it doesn't translate. Like, they've tried to make, like, how many series now about West Hollywood, and it's not done well. Like, are people
Vanderpump
just not
Rules
interested?
works. I mean,
But it's not gay. That's the only reason why.
correct, but it's in, Sir is in that.
Sir.
Well, no, the restaurant
Yeah.
Sir is in that, which we forgot about. It's in that same vicinity, the same block area of West
But
Hollywood.
it's not really a gay bar.
No, it's not. It's not. But a lot of gays go there.
Right. I guess that's why this Real Friends of WeHo thing just isn't working, because gays don't want to see other gays. Straights aren't particularly interested in gay problems. It just doesn't...
They like to pretend they are.
Yeah, they're not.
Which is probably the few people that actually watch that show. Anyway,
But, so that's our rundown. If you guys have any feedback about that, or you want us to review ones in other cities, like we can talk about Sidetrack, the video bar in Chicago, or we can talk about the Eagle or New York or whatever, but anyway.
I haven't been there in a long time.
Anyway, what's our sign off?
I was about to say it, but now I'm saying it to you.
Oh, God.
Have a great day and go fuck yourself.
Duh.
Now